talk. We have some guests in the studio here. We have Casey and Sergio. They're from Bad Coyote Funky. You can go to badcoyotefunky.com. Check out their live podcast every Thursday night at 9:30 on twitch.tv/Bad Coyote Funky. They welcomed me last night, and we had a really great roundabout talking about the Dark Knight Returns comic, talking about Batman versus Superman. And so, as part of our crossover event, see, this is an event, guys. This is a crossover event. It's really exciting. Something smells funky, says Unswizzle on Periscope. We welcome everyone to call in because we love having listeners as well. We have our first call-in of the day. We have Eileen on line 1. Eileen?
Hi. I was just wondering, how you have the Fantastic Four movies, and I know that, this doesn't pertain in such a name to Batman and Superman, but what I wanted to know is, they're all coming out now with characters that are just human,
Mm-hmm.
and the only one that has superhuman strength is Superman. So what I was wondering is, do they think, do we see in the future that there will be all human and not dealing with the superhuman strength that they possess?
Are you phrasing that as if, I guess like a human super team, essentially, that more like kind of like Batman, I guess? Is that kind of where you're going with it? Because Batman is kind of like a normal person, but he's kind of extraordinary human. Sergio, what do you? Okay.
In the sense that, he has his utilities, he has all of his, things, just like Spider-Man has his costume. I'm enjoying Daredevil so much.
Okay.
Oh, great. Well, we're kind of going to see that in Suicide Squad coming out later this year. Some of the members do have powers, but you got Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
She's just like a regular person, and they're not heroes, but they're villains. But I think I'm really looking forward to that movie. You got Will Smith, who's Deadshot, and Deadshot doesn't really have powers. He has really good aim.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's kind of what he does, and Daredevil's actually a great,
amazing,
representation of that belief. But he does have superpowers, though. I mean, he just happens to be more of a normal guy. I guess Eileen, what your question is, we have these like godlike people and godlike, characters like a Superman who can fly and do all this crazy stuff, and you're looking for more grounded stuff. Casey, what do you think?
There are actually
It's more realistic if you want to be today,
Sure.
There are a couple of movies out there that aren't like big name comic properties that deal with sort of ordinary people trying to jump into the superhero fray. A big one a lot of people like is Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
It's got Aaron Taylor Johnson in a starring role. It's about a teenager who's trying to be popular in school. He's like, I love comic books. I'm going to don a costume and fight crime. And he gets his butt kicked. Bad. But he learns, I guess, what it really takes to step up, be tough, and do stuff like that. And then there's also Super, which was... was that James Gunn?
I think it was.
It's got... from The Office. It's Dwight from The Office in it.
It didn't do very well, though.
But I really like it a whole lot. It's like a guy who's sort of a little mentally unhinged, but he feels like doing the right thing. It follows, since you're a fan of Daredevil, you see the Punisher's whole obligation is stepping up to do what's right in the wake of tragedy and loss. And that movie has elements of that in it as well.
I think that's what I enjoy most is the fact that, you see a lot of their humanity and their passion and, their where they're coming from, which shows the goodness that's underlying, their torment.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, they're not reliant on their powers because I guess you're seeing a lot of people. Oh, I have this, I can do that because I'm so fantastical. But what you like is the substance of it all, like the heart of these characters, and you definitely see it. And I agree with you. I definitely see that in Daredevil. Like Matt Murdock does have the ability to see without seeing, but at the same time, his character alone, like just and build a show. Even if he didn't have those, it'd be a great show because of what he's doing and how he's doing it in his heart.
I think overall, Eileen, you're going to see a little bit of both because the Batman versus Superman is a great segue into the Justice League, which is just godlike characters. But then you have the Daredevils, the Luke Cages, They're going to be forming their own like Netflix Defenders team. So I think you're going to see both. And at the end of the day, I think the one absolute is you're going to just see more and more and more of these comic book franchises, because no matter what, the studios are petrified of doing anything brand new and are relying on properties that exist with an existing fan base. So, Eileen, we thank you for the call.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your knowledge on all of this. I'm so enjoying all of the series, and I thank you for reminding me to get.
Absolutely. Anytime. We're here every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. We've got, want to say hi to our Periscope peeps that just signed on as well. We have some more joining us from around the globe. We have people from around the globe listening to us on TalkingAlternative.com. We've got Greg online, too. I have a feeling this is a Greg that we know and love who's been on the show before, but let's see. What's going on, Greg? Long time no hear. For those who don't know, Greg is. Ooh.
Yeah.
Two characters that actually have powers in it, and it has a lot to do with growing up and the struggle with becoming older and not as good as we used to do what you used to be. So if she hasn't checked that out, definitely watch that. I think that's kind of what she's looking for.
Yeah, no, that's something we actually talked about. We talked about the Watchmen movie last night on the Bad Coyote Funky podcast that I was a part of, and Watchmen is a great example of grounded, gritty reality. In fact, that graphic novel, along with Dark Knight Returns, which is what we kind of covered last night, are like the quintessential, gritty, realistic people. Like, what would happen if superheroes are actually real people? I actually, in my book, The Sire, kind of addressed that same issue, because I always found it funny that, in The Sire is about a superhero forced by his own costume to fight evil, because otherwise I thought to myself, how in the world is anybody going to, like, if you had superpowers, I'd be on, like, the Today Show right now. I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be patrolling rooftops. I'm sorry, I'm just not that good. So, that was always my belief. So, that's definitely something we talked about. Greg, you were a big fan of the Watchmen movie, if I recall correctly.
Yes, I do like the book a little bit better, but I do really like it was a really good adaptation of the source material.
Which Bad Coyote Bunch member was saying the movie was better than the book?
That was me.
Oh, Casey, I thought that was you.
It's my one shame, my secret shame. It's just something about the way the movie comes together and the change in the ending that makes it a little simpler, a little less complicated.
Love the change in the ending. I have no problem with that, because they can't set up. I mean, otherwise that would be another 7 or 8 hour movie if they did all the subplots and all the sub-dialogue in there as well.
So many deleted scenes in the director's cut.
And that movie was well made, absolutely well made for a comic movie. And it's funny too, because a lot of people didn't know that it's not a family movie, it's not your Avengers. So when I went to see it in theaters, a lot of families were there, and I was like, "This is not a family movie."
No, not at all.
You got Rorschach just beating people to a pulp, and other things that can be mentioned. But very well made.
No, I agree. Now, so Casey, what is the? Give us a little breakdown as to why you like the movie better, besides just the ending. Was it just? When did you read Watchmen, the graphic novel?
I first read Watchmen when I started. I've been reading comics ever since I was a kid, but I didn't get into the.
Casey's like 12, by the way. I'm just just letting everyone. He's got a beard somehow. He's like one of those kind of kids, but it's okay.
These props so you look better.
There's a guy walking around New York with a snake oil pitch. Hello.
I've been reading comics ever since I was a kid. When I was 16, I read Dark Knight and Watchmen and all this stuff at the same time, because I met a bunch of people who were like, if you haven't read these, you haven't read comics. Mm-hmm. And I read it and I appreciated it. I don't know if I really appreciated it for what it was, because I didn't have a background reading comics at the time, really seeing the impact of what happened, in its wake. And Alan Moore is just kind of like, when you don't read anything by him before, you're just kind of like, oh, who's this? Like, this is pretty good. But then, as you read everything else and you hear people talk about him, it's like, this guy's a legend.
Yep. So,
once I was old enough to read it again, maybe 18, 19, I gained a real appreciation for the style of narrative, the way that it's paced, the fact that the covers themselves are a panel in each issue.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot in most comics.
Oh, absolutely not.
Sometimes you get this cheesecakey art, something to draw, a big lie on the front. Not a hoax, not an imaginary tale.
Yeah.
But this, it's a story, and you're thrust right into it. But the reason I like the movie more is my greatest shame. I find the pacing still works for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people are upset that they throw in these crazy fight scenes, but at the same time, I just found it visually engaging. Like the whole bit where Night Owl and Silk Spectre are ambushed in an alley.
Yeah.
In the comic, it's like 3-4 panels, like they whoop these guys and that's it. But they're like, when they hit them, like you feel it, like you're breaking bones and stuff. It's very intense. Even the fight at the beginning with the mysterious figure and the comedian.
Touched upon this last night. My biggest complaint of the movie, and the reason that it was almost a too faithful adaptation. Like, he went too faithful. I actually agree with you. I think the fight scenes are amazing. I think that everything... But if you watch the trailer, to tie it all in, we're talking movie trailer, see how it goes. Zack Snyder is the master of the movie trailer to me. He makes kick butt... I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. He kick butt movie trailers. And he, in this particular case, when I saw it had the Smashing Pumpkins theme coming out of the water, and it was the super slow motion, and they were walking down the prison, and it's like, holy cow, this is going to be unbelievable. And then have, like, the soundtrack, he literally, beat by beat, used the music that you quote-unquote, and anybody on YouTube can see me using the air quotes, anyone on radio cannot, but I'm using the air quotes because he used the music from the book. Alan Moore actually details what music is playing in every single panel, so if you actually go in there and like when comedian gets thrown out of the window in the front of the, in the very beginning of the movie, there is a specific song playing, and Zack Snyder has that exact song playing when it happens, and it doesn't translate to the movie to me, and I think the soundtrack actually is the biggest reason that it ruined it for me. Having the comical, what was the song that played after Night Owl and Silk Spectre finally, get their groove on? At last, or something like that. It was like some sort of.
Is it Hendrix?
No, it's not Hendrix. It's definitely not.
When the comedian was doing that.
Right, and even when Dr. Manhattan is like,
Watchtower?
No, it's not. See, it's not all along the Watchtower when they finally make love in the Night Owl thing after they beat up people. It's like some cheesy thing, and it actually in the book, as I'm reading it, it's actually an intense, decomposition of like these human emotions. Night Owl can only get off when he's in his costume, and it's like this like really deranged, thing that's like wow, but you don't. I don't know, it just felt like laughable when I saw it on screen versus when I read it, and I'm like, holy cow, this is like really, really deeper than any comic book has ever gone before. So that was my like, thing about it where I was like, So, Greg, we have you on. Did you have a question before we go to break? And that's it? You got nothing else for us? What are you doing, buddy? Give us something good. How about this? And hold on the line. We also have David on the line as well, and we'll get to David after the break. In our comic book March Madness, you can go to my Twitter page at Michael_Dolce. Greg and Sergio actually came on the show a few weeks ago, and we limited the contestants down to 4 from each movie franchise: Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, and X-Men. And we're pitting them against each other first within each franchise, and then as the March Madness unfolds, we're going to have the winner of the Batman bracket take on the winner of the Superman bracket, and the winner of the Spider-Man take on the winner of the X-Men, and then ultimately have an ultimate final 2 that go up against each other. We broke down the 4 Superman movies we wanted. It was Superman 1, Superman 2, Man of Steel, and I had my guest Jeff Gomez last week and actually vote for the Brandon Routh Superman to be the 4th entrant because we couldn't decide. Man of Steel is actually winning at the moment. So we're going to go to break. Greg, I want to hear your comments on that, and then David will get to you as soon as we come back from break. This is Secrets of the Sire. Click there. Get a man.
Oh. Yeah, don't give out the phone number again until we get at least one of these callers off.
Yeah.
People try calling in, it's going to bounce to my cell.
Oh, wow. My mom was remarkably cool about that.
I thought she was going to call it and be like, I'm Casey's mom! Mom!
She was going to end it with "I love you." And I was
That's actually her research or something. That was actually a good question.
she tries when she wants to. I'm glad.
Okay, we are coming back on YouNow. Periscope, stick with us because we're not going anywhere.